The question we want to address here is, are these goods on consignment, in which case they would belong to Gillingham, or has a sale taken place, in which case it would belong to Canterbury? The legal situation is whatever it is, but in accounting we try to look for substance over the strict form. We want to present a true and fair view as to what is happening. Here we have a number of conditions, all bullet pointed here, and we need to go through each one and consider whether it is in favour of the goods belonging to Canterbury or whether they belong to Gillingham. From the lecture we have these indicators of control. I'm not sure how much it helps us in this particular case. I guess the critical one is allocate the price to performance obligations. So to whom should the price be allocated? Should items be allocated as cost in stock to Canterbury, or is it Gillingham having goods on consignment? If we look at the first one, Canterbury pays a fixed rental per month for each machine that it holds. Well, I think we can see that in one sense as representing ownership by Gillingham, because the goods are being rented, and if you rent things you don't actually own them. So on its own it's clearly a case for Gillingham. Later on we will see that this fixed rental is not really a rental, but it really becomes more or less part of the payment for purchase. So I've given an argument for both. For Canterbury, it's a kind of payment for what is ultimately purchased, but Gillingham could claim that it really just represents rental and not ownership, with I think Gillingham probably having the stronger claim. If we look at the second one, Canterbury pays the cost of insuring and maintaining the machines. That's clearly a responsibility of the owner. So on that basis, that's got to be in favour of Canterbury owning the machines. That makes it 1-0 to Canterbury. Canterbury can display the machines in its showrooms and use them as demonstration models. Well, we had quite a lot of debate about this. On balance, I don't think it tells us anything really about who owns the products. In some sessions we thought it represented more leaned towards Canterbury, and in some sessions we thought it was kind of nil-nil. So I don't want to present a certain picture, which of course, in contrast to other accounting issues, you may have the impression of accounting that it's a set of rules that we conform to. Well, that is true for accounting clerks, but not for professional accountants. They have to make judgments. So we don't want to be too absolute about this. Arguments either way will have validity. When a machine is sold to a customer, Canterbury pays Gillingham factory price at the time the machine was originally delivered. And that kind of indicates that when it was originally delivered, effectively ownership passed to Canterbury, in effect, if not legally. Unsold machines must be paid for by Canterbury at the factory price at the time of delivery. So that again emphasises that at the time of delivery, in effect, ownership passed to Canterbury. Canterbury can return these machines, as we I think see in a later one, but after 6 months payment has to be made. So all this finance, the rental and the payment, increasingly looks as if it's just a straight payment for the goods, and with a right of return, but that right of return exists for all goods. You know, if you buy something and you don't decide you don't want it, if you return it to the shop, you'll get a refund. So it's this 6 months is kind of like the same as some shops will put a time limit on the window in which you can return goods. So it looks a bit like that, and the factory price at the time of delivery is looking more and more like the straightforward sale at the time of delivery. Gillingham can require Canterbury to return the machines any time within the 6-month period. So on the face of it, that's clearly part of ownership. It can take back ownership. So in legal terms, clearly Gillingham can exercise this right, but we see that it hasn't ever really been exercised. So if we're looking at the economic reality, I think we've got to say, yes, it is in favour of Gillingham owning the machines, but this right is not exercised. So that diminishes in economic terms the reality of the situation. And then Canterbury can return unsold machines to Gillingham at any time during the 6-month period without penalty. This is what we were discussing earlier. It, in effect, is just a return goods, and that is common to any normal sale. So we might put it down as ownership by Gillingham, but I think we could also probably put it in as, in effect, common to all sale items. So we shouldn't necessarily rule it out as being Canterbury's goods. Okay, so that's the argument on all of them. How should these machines be treated in the accounts of Canterbury for the year ended December 31st, 2006? They should be treated, looking through all these conditions, they should be treated as purchases, items in stock, and the purchase price is at the time of delivery and at that price. So that completes our first question.